All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Richard.lesperance. I go by the name of my man, Richard. Welcome to A Better Lifestyle. Today, I have the pleasure to have Patrick Boylan with me. Patrick is the co-founder of museflow. So, welcome, Patrick, to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Great. It's my pleasure. So, talk to us about what is museflow and how did you get started?
Museflow is a music education app. We're teaching piano right now, and soon enough, it'll be for all common instruments. We're kind of reinventing the way that we teach how to play an instrument. We're putting one part of what people have considered to be a part of the whole, which is sight reading, the act of reading music at first sight. We're putting that first, and we're letting you explore and learn the new concepts that you're supposed to learn in our curriculum within sight reading, within an infinitely generated music that never repeats. So you're playing that new skill inside of the context of what you already know, inside of never repeating music, so you can't learn it by rote, and you get that new skill inside your body, and then you go apply it to songs that get unlocked. So three things that we're kind of reintroducing or reinventing when it comes to music education. Putting sight reading first is number one. Inducing flow state, making sure that that challenge that you're engaged with is right at your skill level. And then number three, kind of it's your own journey, right? It's self-learning, it's personalization. We get to adjust the music based on how you're playing, and we get to keep you right at that challenge, right? And then you can apply that skill to songs that get unlocked at that level. So it's a whole different way of learning an instrument. We think it's revolutionary, and we're super stoked to get it out into the world and have people try it. We've got about 40 people that are using this right now. And so we're relatively new. We've only been doing this for about a year and a half now. And yeah, but we're loving it. We're having a great time doing it too.
So, how did you get started and what made you start this?
So yeah, I never considered myself to be an entrepreneur. I was just an actor and pianist. I basically taught myself how to play piano this way. Okay. I took 8 years of lessons. I hated every second of it. I did not like the traditional ways of teaching music, which is here's a new skill. Now here's one song or two songs if you're lucky. Now go apply the skill and learn those songs perfectly. And then your teacher will come back and they'll stamp approval, or they'll say, no, you have to go home and do that again for an entire week. You have to practice that same song over and over and over, right? Just didn't work for my brain. And so 8 years of lessons went by. My parents had to ground me to practice because I wasn't practicing. I was a terrible student. And then my teacher retired. No fault of my own. He just retired, even though I was a terrible student. He didn't give up on me. He just left. He was like, I'm done. I'm good. And then I went back to my parents' sheet music that they had there on the piano. They had some musical theater, some scores and songs and whatnot, vocal selections. And I started going through all of that sheet music, and I started pulling out little pieces of these phrases, these motifs that I really enjoyed, just enjoyed playing, and so then I started getting those phrases in my body by improvising around them. I was learning those core building blocks of musical theater, I realized, outside of the context of songs, so that when I found songs that use that same motif or that phrase, I was able to replicate it verbatim. Cut to college, I was the only acting major to be able to could play piano. And so everybody started throwing music in front of me, and I was able to play it pretty much verbatim because I had already seen those core building blocks outside of the context of one specific song. And so I moved to LA. I was an actor for about 5 or 6 years. I really enjoyed it. I still act on occasion. I have a couple commercials that I regularly do, and a couple different directors and producers that I really love to work with. But I getting super burnt out on that. And my wife was like, why don't you go play piano? You've been doing it your entire life. And so I ended up starting to learn how to play, starting to actually pursue that here in LA. 3 months later, I got my first gig. 5 months later, I was making my living off of it. And so I was really lucky to be able to pivot into that. And then I just kind of realized, okay, well, if I'm able to become a professional pianist and I taught myself this way, and it was much more gratifying, it was much more fun, I was so much more engaged with what I was learning, maybe there's another way that other people can do this too. And so I started brainstorming the idea of MuseFlow, brought it to my music education friend, Steven, and he was like, this is a great idea. I think AI is going to be the thing that actually scales this idea, because we can generate that music ad infinitum. And so it never repeats. I'm like, great, fantastic idea. Let's keep building this out. And so we built out the whole idea first, the whole big thing. We made a Bible for it, right? It was like 150 pages long. We still have it and we still reference it all the time. And then we were like, great, let's go see if we can get some money. We went to a couple VC firms and they were like, cool. So you're a music educator and you're a piano performer. Have you guys ever made anything before? And we were like, no. And they were like, okay, we need to see a proof of concept for this. You need to build a minimum viable product just so you can show us that you're actually able to build something, right? I was like, okay, that's cool. So we ended up looking for some technical co-founders and they just started coming into our lives. And now we have 3 software engineers that work with us. They're fantastic. We're all splitting the equity. And they're all everybody, and we're all really good friends. Like we were friends of friends at the beginning, but now we've really kind of gelled together and now we're just really good friends. And so we haven't even gotten VC funding yet. And we put it out into the world as a proof of concept, as a minimum viable product. People started loving it. And so, that was about a year ago. So we've gotten 40 paying customers within a year. None of them we knew at the beginning. We had maybe 2 people that signed up for it that we knew. The rest were organic traffic. So that's kind of how there's a very light story of like how we got into this and where it all started from.
So you didn't pay for creating the app, right? You had 3 other people doing it for you, or?
Yeah. So the first guy, he's a friend of a friend. We ended up going on a hike with him here in LA, in Malibu. And we met him at a birthday party and we really vibed with him, me and Steven. And so we ended up just talking about, he's a backend engineer. He works in the cloud and he's AWS security certified. He does everything in AWS and everything in the backend. And so we just started talking about MuseFlow and we started just going and he kept asking a ton of questions and we were on this hike. And then we went to a meal afterwards and we just kept on talking and he kept getting so excited about it and being like, oh my God, all the databases that are needed to like make this idea, right? He got super jazzed on that. And then a week and a half go by and he's like, hey, I'd love to have a meeting. And we're like, okay, cool. So we got onto Zoom and he pulls up a pitch deck and it says why I should work at MuseFlow. That was the title page. And we were like, what? We were never even considering pitching this guy on like coming on to the team because he's already at such an incredible level in his just normal career. We were like, he'd never want to work for MuseFlow. So we didn't even pitch him. He ended up pitching him to us. And so, we ended up bringing him on. Another guy I actually met over at one of my piano background jazz gigs over at a restaurant. I played background jazz for dinner service at this restaurant. And so I walked in one day and there's this dude just sitting at the piano playing Chopin, beautiful classical piano. And I'm like, who is this guy? And so I go up to him and I'm like, who are you? And he's like, oh, I live right down the street. I just come on in sometimes and I play piano and they let me, and they sometimes give me a meal, And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And I'm like, do you want to go back and forth? Like you play a song, I play a song, you play a song, I play a song. He's like, yeah, let's do that. And so we switch back and forth, jazz and then classical, jazz and then classical. And we got to talking. Turns out the guy is a software engineer. Turns out he's a classically trained pianist. I buy him dinner. I buy him a drink. I butter him up a bit. Show him our pitch deck. A week later, I ask him, hey, you want to join? And he said, absolutely. The other guy is he's a friend of Steven, my co-founder Steven's. He's a friend of his from high school and he's a bass player. So they were in a band together and he's an AI guy. He makes machine learning algorithms all over the place for fintech companies and whatnot. And so he decided to come on very early on. And so, yeah, we all decided to split the equity. We've all nailed that down pretty well. That was a big discussion for us. We started working on this, and then we started being like, okay, what is our actual equity split of this? And so we ended up landing on something we're all very happy with it. And then we, just kept on building from there. But that was like a big conversation that we had to have into working on this project together. But yeah, we're all splitting it.
So it didn't cost you much then, because usually to create an app costs a lot of money. So you guys were pretty, as they say, pretty lucky.
Yeah, we got really lucky with finding 3 technical co-founders that were into the idea, and we were able to convince them to work with us on this, not working for us, right? They're working with us on this thing. We want their input. We have a big tenet at our company. It's a egoless decision making, right? We want to democratize learning. So we want to hear also, because that is like a major tenet of our app, to democratize learning. We also want that democracy within our company as well. And so we want to hear everybody's opinion. We want to hear their opinion. And then they feel this sort of agency to make the product because they're putting input into its development process and into the vision. They've suggested features that were brilliant, and we did not want to tamp that down. We want to keep their creativity right there at the forefront so that they can feel like they're right there with us. Yeah, we got really lucky, but we also kind of fostered this environment of creativity and democracy and hearing everybody out, and then arguing our points with egoless decision making. So it's the best choice for the product,
So what's the main business model that you guys are using?
It's a SaaS app, software as a service. So it's a subscription-based service. It costs monthly, or you could do a 3-month bundle, or you could do it annually. And 3-month bundle is a discount off of the monthly, and the annual is a discount off of all of that. So even a higher discount. So yeah, it's a subscription-based.
What are some different features? I think you have gaming inside of that too that you could use. Talk to us about that.
So the gaming aspect is fairly simple. We're not doing like badges or stars, external sort of gamification. We talk about gamification in terms of internal motivation and internal success, right? We want to capture that idea where you are actively recognizing that you're learning a new skill. That aha moment is what we call it. We want you to feel so thoroughly that moment of, oh my gosh, I'm getting it. I'm actually getting it. Holy cow, boom, you pass a level. So yes, there is some gamification involved in this. Each new skill is given a level, and we have 26 levels right now. Unit 2 is coming next year. That's going to be another 26 levels. So we've broken down the progress of learning your piano into 26 different steps, okay? But not like you're going to get to learning how to actually play piano in level 1. That's all right there. We got to make sure that you can actually read music and that you're playing the notes properly on piano. The first level is 3 rhythms, 1 note, both hands. That's the first level, right? And then we build from there to 14 notes, 4 rhythms, 3 time signatures. You're really going everywhere on that piano at that point, right? And the songs are getting really, really complicated when they get unlocked. So yeah, the gamification aspects are everything is broken down into levels. Those levels are broken down into tiers. And the music that we give you that is always changing in front of you, that it never repeats, that music that you're learning the new skill in is broken up into phrases, okay? And each phrase is broken up into a measure. So there's 4 measures to a phrase, and you have to get 4 phrases in a row at 95% accuracy or higher at the goal tempo, the goal pace of the song, to successfully pass that tier. That's the gamification aspect. And that all facilitates the ingestion of that new skill, kinesthetically speaking, into your body, right? And that, oh my gosh, I'm getting it. I'm actually getting it. Boom, you pass that level. Big dopamine hit happens. You move on to the next.
What's the market like, the current size of that market? It must be like small at the moment, or talk to us about that.
Let me look up our tam stam som. Because it's like we're talking about like all of the music education technology. That's the total addressable market. One sec, let me find this. I don't remember exactly.
Would you say it's a small niche at the moment, or?
Look, I'd have to look it back at our documentation, but and our pitch deck, like our old pitch deck. But our total addressable market is at like 2 billion right now. It's pretty high, especially when you're looking at consumer, like direct to consumer products, which is what we are right now, and then enterprise solutions for schools. We're also going to be doing that. That's our B2B. And so we got our B2C and our B2B. You combine both of those. The music education technology total addressable market is around 2 point something billion, 2.5, 2.2, something like that. Yeah. So it's pretty darn high. When it comes to just the piano education B2C market, that's already in the hundreds of millions. So you're up there. You're really, really up there. I'd have to pull up the actual numbers to get that correct, but yeah.
What would you say if someone wants to create an app? What would you say like the cost of creating an app is, and the process that someone would have to take?
So I think of the cost as three very, very different things, but they're all interconnected. They're all they're all types of money in a way. I mean, they're not money. What do you call it? Currencies, right? So you got time as one of them. You've got energy as another one. And then you've got money as the other one. Those are the three currencies that you're working with when you're building something. Okay. We are currently in the middle. We're doing it. We've got time and energy. That's what we've got. Okay. It's a new idea, and it's a completely like we're not fighting against a market where like AI is a whole thing in the music education space. Like, no. We're starting this thing, and we're not thinking that people are really going to be fighting us for the space as much until we are somewhat closer to our goal, and actually making a living off of this thing. So we'll be happy at that point. But right now, we are the only ones in this marketplace, so we don't have to like really spend. We don't have to build this fast. We're building it well, and we're putting our energy into it. We're also putting a little bit of money, you know. One of our co-founders is one of our investors, but our overhead is about $1,200 right now. And so we're very, very lucky that one of them is willing to put up the money and get equity for that in return. So he's getting more equity as time goes on, as he's putting more money into it. So our cap table is constantly changing, right? But yeah, when it comes to building an app, the three things that you've got are time, energy, and money, right? And if you've got a lot of money, it's going to take less time and a lot of less energy. If you've got a lot of energy, it's going to take less time and less money. If you've got a lot of time, it's going to take less energy and less money. So we've decided to do the time and the energy side so that it costs less for us in the long run, so we don't give up a lot of our equity. That's what we've decided on. But you've got to make that own decision on your end to see what works for you.
Did you guys face a lot of challenges in the process?
The major ones, the major one, there's two major ones that I would say that we've faced. One was when we were discussing equity. There were some titles and some equity splits that we were very cautious about, and we really had to talk about it. We had to argue our points well. We had to really come to the table with what we wanted as an individual and what we thought was best for the company. And what we gave as individuals to the company. I personally give a ton of soft skills. I have the leadership quality. I have the personality to sell it. I have the vision. I am the pianist who learned off of this methodology. So it's inside of me so thoroughly, right? So I'm kind of the vision keeper. I'm I'm the forward person. I'm the person that is connecting with the audience. I'm the customer service person, right? All of those things are very soft skills, right? So it's hard to argue those things. When it comes to the actual technical side, we've got three guys that are incredibly proficient and have brought on a lot of stuff. They've brought on a lot of hard skills. They really have. And so they were able to argue their positions a lot more thoroughly than I had to. So I had to come up with ways to justify my equity split. I'm number two on the cap table, second to our CEO, which is Steven, my co-founder. He's a lot more level-headed than I am, and he's a natural born leader. And so we were like, he also is, he's the guy that kind of combined the ideas of AI and sight reading and brought that together into a whole. So he's also very much the vision keeper. And so because he's the CEO, because he's the main leader of this whole thing internally, he got the highest, right? I got the second highest, and so on and so forth. After that, the rest of the guys kind of split it up after that, right? But that was one of the biggest challenges, is actually talking about equity split. The other is that I'm a creative talker. I talk a lot, and I put a lot of words to things, and I like to figure it out as I go along, and I love to do this with people, right? And so that doesn't really work for some of our co-founders because they're very to the point. They're very straightforward. I'm very straightforward. And so that's something that we have in common, but they're straightforward in a very like curt, very direct, very semi-aggressive, very like, tech bro-y kind of way. And I'm like, that doesn't really vibe with me, right? I don't really do that much. And so we had to kind of come together and realize, okay, we talk very differently. We discuss things very differently. But we still need to hear each other out because we both respect each other, and we both respect each other's opinions very, very thoroughly. So that was one of the major things that we kind of had to come together on, is like communication styles. Yeah. That's a big thing for us. Yeah.
So what's next for museflow, and what's your vision?
The vision is a three-pronged approach to music education: sight reading at its engine. And then we have repertoire after that. Flow state is always going to be preserved. So we are going to automate everything for you. We're in the middle of doing that. It's all happening, right? The flow from like going through when a song actually gets unlocked and you start to go play it, right? You play through it. You just press the space bar. You play through it once. Great. Once you're done, the space bar again will bring it right back to the beginning. The cursor, it'll bring it right back to the beginning, and it'll start going right then and there. So it's only one tap, right? That's this flow inducing sort of mentality. It's like what is the least amount of clicks that we can get you from point A to point L, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, right? How can we do it in one click? If we can, we're going to do it, or we're going to automate that for you so you stay in flow, right? So we've got the sight reading trainer, we've got repertoire, and then we've got our exercise section. That's the three-pronged approach to music education. You got the technique of learning your instrument. You've got the application of that technique into songs that get unlocked. And then you've got deeper dives into the theory and specifically working on specific techniques to really get you proficient within that one specific meta skill that we want you to work, right? So that's the third-pronged approach. And so we're building that right now. We've got interactive tutorials that are coming out at the end of the year, which is just a video, and then it seamlessly transitions into an interactive exercise. Very, very cool. We're using a piece of technology called Phaser, which is a game engine that works with React, our software engine. So that's really fun. Audio recognition is going to be really cool, where instead of having to plug in your keyboard to your computer, you can actually just let your computer hear your piano. And then it'll work from there. We're building the app right now. That's going to be coming out middle of next year. So you can actually use it on your tablet, on your phone. Yeah. We're building it, man. And we're stoked. That's kind of the larger vision, though, is that three-pronged approach to music education, creating that ecosystem for you to dive into the world of music education, really immerse yourself into it. And then the immediate steps are interactive tutorials in the app, and then audio recognition. Those are the three.
Where can people learn more about you and follow you?
You can search us online, museflow.ai. You can email me. I'd love to hear your thoughts, patrick.boylan@museflow.ai. Any questions you have about business? Any questions you have about, I mean, I'm not like a self-proclaimed entrepreneur, but I do think that I have a lot of those tendencies within me, especially coming from the art side, being an actor and a musician. You're already kind of an entrepreneur because of that, right? You're a freelancer. You're going out, you're trying to pitch yourself to other people saying like, yeah, I'm a talent, hire me, right? Like it's already kind of fairly entrepreneurial in that regard. So I already had the skills of transition to building this app, right? Anyway, yeah, please email me with any questions though. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to talk with you about anything. Look us up online, museflow.ai. You could follow us on Instagram at museflow.ai. Yeah, just anything with museflow.ai and it like Google us and you'll find us.